everybody!
Hey!
Jason and I went to Comic-Con, and although I did not get in the Hall H panel, did you get in the Hall H panel?
Nope, but I watched it on YouTube later.
Yes, and I hope that, a lot of you who are Tolkien fans did as well. I tweeted out about the new San Diego Comic-Con trailer that dropped for Rings of Power, and a lot of you responded saying, like, hey, are you and Jason going to do another trailer breakdown? So we were like, let's make it happen, and here we are. First thoughts?
Well, loved it, but before we even talk about that,
okay.
Even though neither of us went to Hall H, we did both get to go to the party, the Lord of the Rings party. We're allowed to talk about that, right?
I
that
think
we were there?
so, yeah.
Okay.
We went to the Moot. It was put on by theonering.net. It was awesome, and the cast was there. And I got to meet the cast a day before that and have a little bit more, like, one-on-one conversation time. The whole cast was there. I, unfortunately, did not get to speak to the whole cast as there were a couple of us there, and, we were trying to share time appropriately. But there were some cool nuggets of information that we'll break down. I mean, I didn't want to grill. I didn't want to push for information we weren't supposed to have. But I did think that there were some tidbits that came out that might be, I don't want to say like hot exclusive for the channel, but like they will definitely color our opinion of certain things. I think when we go through and break this down. But it was really exciting and it was really fun, and honestly just so grateful to be there. Thank you, Prime Video and the One Ring for the invite. And I mean, Jason and I were both in our Tolkien nerd heaven, I think, a little bit.
Taking lots of pictures of lots of armor and the outfits and
the costumes.
Close-ups.
Look so cool. Like the detail in some of those scales that we see for Muriel. Is that how you say her name?
Mm-hmm.
It was just astounding. And we know that already this is going to be a very big budget TV show.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to see the attention to detail being put into some of the sweeping shots we've seen. It looks very, very cinematic, and the attention to detail in the wardrobe as well. I think a lot of people are naturally, as we've said before, going to compare this series to the Peter Jackson films.
Sure.
I know that there's a lot of people that already have a lot of unease about the series, but I would remind everybody that there was also a lot of unease from the Tolkien book fans before the Peter Jackson films came out. Big time. So let's all keep our fingers and toes crossed and hope that this is a story we want to rewatch a million times over.
Yeah. I mean, I think it will be. From the Comic-Con panel that Colbert hosted, and then the individual interviews, I watched all of those too. With Patton Oswalt and our friend Felicia Day interviewed part of the cast. And I got some tidbits from there as well.
Yes.
So I'm ready to share those, when it comes up in the screen.
Right.
The main thing is that it's Miriel, not Tar Miriel, and it's Pharazôn, not our Pharazôn. Meaning that we're going to see Numenor before some really pivotal moments that Pharazôn does that really bring forth the fall of Numenor. So I feel really cool about, they're not just starting right at the end of Numenor. We're going to see Numenor sort of in its glory and then its fall.
And they're condensing the timeline so much that I feel like that really puts a lot of it on Pharazôn.
Yeah.
Like
all
you
of it.
are the embodiment of all of it, sir. No pressure, no pressure.
Yeah. And so if he's already alive, then that does mean that we're starting kind of towards the end.
Unless they're just condensing it so far for the purposes of, folks at home that aren't going to keep all of these various names and characters straight, so that it's one character that we follow through, which is, I think, where they're going with it. But Jason and I also want to give the little disclaimer, even though Jason and I got to go to these exclusive events at San Diego Comic-Con, we are not privy to more information than anybody else has.
No.
Also giving our disclaimer that we always give, that we're just fans.
Yeah.
We are not,
We're not shills.
Well, we're definitely not shills. We're just fans. But I was going to give the caveat of, we are not Tolkien historians.
Oh, right, yeah.
Or linguistic experts, and I got to meet some of those people at Comic-Con. That was so cool. I'm now following everyone trying to study up before Rings of Power drops. But Jason and I approach this as fans of the material. Jason is more well-read than I am, for sure, and when it comes to the books. But we both love this stuff. We love this world. We want to see it succeed. And so anything that we give, when we're breaking down these trailers, is pure speculation.
Yeah.
As fans, we don't know anything.
We don't know anything. other than like things that we tried to grill out of people, but we didn't get much that way.
No, the only thing I got was in regards to dwarven beards.
Okay.
That's the only thing I got that I was like, I don't think that's been talked about yet. Although they may have talked about it on the character Q&As, which I didn't get to watch all of. So
I think they did.
It might be old news.
But it's okay. But I think a lot of people watching today may not have had time to watch all of those other things. So let us be your guide and help you.
Yes. So. Do you want to go over some of the cool swag we got?
Yeah, we did get some cool pins.
We did get some cool pins.
Representing all the different factions. That I think will be covered in the Prime Video shows. So, for example, we'll just do one at a time. So, that one is obviously from the island of Numenor. I think Elendil specifically. The hammer clearly represents the dwarves. That one represents the Harfoots in their travels.
Okay.
This one represents, I believe, the orcs, and or if you turn it sideways, could that be an eye?
I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yeah. And then that is from the House of Finwë, the elves. So,
yes, I've heard a lot of people say turn that sideways and it's the eye. I've also heard a lot of people wondering if this is like the different points on Sauron's helmet.
Mm-hmm. I've also heard the hilt of the sword, the broken sword.
Yes, the hilt of the broken sword. Speculation for days. If you're watching this, we'll probably do this on Twitch and YouTube again, but wherever you're watching this, comment with your speculation because it's all welcome here. No speculation is silly speculation.
Right.
Indulge your wildest theories. I love to hear them. Okay. Okay, so we're stopping right in the beginning. Galadriel, played by Morfydd Clark, is putting an elven helmet on a huge mound of elven helmets amidst the destruction of war. I have heard a couple different theories as to which war this is, but Jason, I'm curious your thoughts.
Okay, to me, there are two wars that this could have been. It could have either been the end of the War of Wrath. I think that that's wrong, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Or the end of the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. At the end of the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, Tolkien did write about that there were mounds of bodies of the humans and the elves.
Right.
That the orcs would actually not touch, and grass did grow on them. I've seen many of artwork over the years from different artists, John Howe, Alan Lee, and Nesmith, all making art like this. Now, they were bodies, not just helmets, but the reason why I don't think it's the War of Wrath is because after the War of Wrath, Beleriand was under the water. So she wouldn't have been able to make that pile because everybody was under the water.
I mean, that's a stellar point. I was going to say in regards to what you were saying about the bodies, not helmets, I do think the cinematography of this shot is meant to color that mound like skulls. Right?
Sure.
Doesn't it? It looks like skulls.
And there could be bodies underneath.
There could be bodies underneath, but I think artistically we're seeing light on one side, we're seeing dark on the other side, very foreboding. I mean, Galadriel here is saying we thought the war at last was ended. And so I think this is, it's cool to me that they opened the Comic-Con trailer with this shot because I think it gives us the hope into the foreboding, which is really going to be, I think, the overall theme and, distance that we travel through Rings of Power as a series, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, that looks like skulls to me. So even if they didn't do the full bodies everywhere, I don't know how dark they want to go in the trailer, but I'm hoping they go dark in the series.
And I've got to remind myself that every shot that we see, the voiceover doesn't necessarily match that when the show comes out.
100%, yes. Yeah, I mean, how many trailers have we seen where the voiceover's just for the trailer, and you don't even hear that line?
Yeah, it's never in the movie or the show.
So, we've got a couple different options here, but we're kicking off the trailer with "We thought the war at last was ended." Poor Galadriel.
I know.
Okay, we'll stop there. Next, they say, "Today our days of peace begin." Now, I've seen a couple different theories as to the area we're looking at here, but to me, I can be totally wrong. I saw golden leaves on trees and was like, Lindon.
Mm-hmm. I think it's been confirmed as much as it can be that is Lindon. Okay. To me, it's you've got Gil-galad there,
right.
who is doing some sort of ceremony. We know that Gil-galad was the Elven king in the area of Lindon. I don't know. 1 + 1 = 2, right?
Gil-galad or Gil-galad?
I can't remember. See, that's where
I
I'm going to get wrong.
always say Gil-galad, but I'm probably wrong. I usually defer.
I don't know.
Jason.
When the first time I read the Silmarillion, I pronounced it Beleriand, not Beleriand. So,
I know.
And then later I was like, oh yeah, it's Beleriand. That makes more sense. But what do I know?
When I met the cast, I was nervous to say like, oh, you're, and then say the character name because I was like, I'm going to say it wrong.
So
I'm going to pronounce it wrong.
Did you meet Gil-galad or Gil-galad?
I did, but yes, I didn't say.
Who's an American? I'm like, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got one back.
Same thing with like, I was like, is it Sarah Brimbor or Cara Brimbor? I'm not really sure, so I'm not going to say your name out loud to you and mess it up.
Celebrimbor. Yeah.
Celebrimbor. Yeah. See, I just read these things most of the time. But yes, okay, so this is Lindon. Mm-hmm. It looks stunning.
Today our days of peace begin.
I'm getting massive, for the fans of the Peter Jackson films, I feel like you'll get massive Rivendell vibes when you see this sweeping
100%,
landscape.
100%.
For sure. And so today our days of peace begin.
There's Elrond looking satisfying.
Yeah.
Satisfied. There's sort of like a nun or something behind him. I'm not really sure what's going on back there.
Some kind of order of something.
Yeah.
But Elrond's going to be such an interesting one to watch in this series because Elrond is going to, no spoilers, but also spoilers because if you've read the book, but like he's got a journey.
Yeah.
Before we get to the third age.
To me, by the way, looking at this again, today, let our days of peace begin. That's got to be at the very, very beginning of the second age. That, the War of Wrath is over. Everyone believes that, obviously Morgoth is vanquished. That we don't know yet that Sauron escaped.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So, and for people who don't know, Sauron was Morgoth's #1 lieutenant. Right. Basically. Morgoth was defeated in the...
Morgoth is the big bad, by the way, if we're giving like the general broad overview. Morgoth, big bad.
And Sauron is #2, who, by the way, and I think we're going to see a piece later, used to run a place called Werewolf Island.
Oh, which is going to be important. Well, it might be important depending on the Fenrir death they go with.
Right.
Or Finrod.
So, Finrod. Yeah, Finrod. But
Fenrir's another werewolf name. That's why I got confused.
That's okay.
Okay. But I wanted to talk about this for a moment. So it looks like Gil-galad is crowning Galadriel with golden leaves. What this could be, I'm not really sure. I've seen a lot of speculation, and I think the theory I've seen that jives the most for me or makes the most sense for me is that Galadriel will be an emissary on behalf of Lindon. Potentially to Numenor. Maybe.
Sure.
Like bestowing some task maybe upon Galadriel is kind of where we're going here. Also, condensed timelines. And I know I said this before when we looked at it before, but condensed timelines are funny for me whenever we see Gil-galad and Galadriel together in this series. Mm-hmm. Because weren't we talking about before,
I believe that Galadriel becomes Elrond's grandmother-in-law. If I'm not mistaken.
No, I thought it was like great aunt, but maybe it's I don't know. We'll have to look up family trees.
This is where we're getting...
and give a disclaimer. Again, fans, not experts. Although, like I said, we met a lot of experts while we were there. And for those of you who are interested in the comments, let me know, and I'll give you all their socials to follow if you want to study up hard before Rings of Power. But yeah, because I feel like the elves all kind of look similar ages. Now, granted, they live for thousands and thousands of years, so it's hard to determine age based on appearance. But she looks so young. Morfydd Clark looks so young. I can't picture her being anyone else in this scene's great aunt or great grandmother or whatever. But elves.
Grandmother-in-law,
elves,
Well,
fantasy world, who knows?
They grow up and... it's just, okay.
So we thought our joys would be unending, and we see a big supper here that seems to have Doran at one end. Mm-hmm. And I initially, when I saw this, because it goes by kind of quickly, just thought this was like an elven, just a full elven table. I didn't realize that Doran was there until rewatching it. But it looks like maybe Galadriel. I don't know everybody who's there, and I don't know what this is signifying.
Right, and I don't know if these two are statues or are they attendants in some way.
Maybe those are those nun attendants.
It could be, yeah. But then, oh, you know what though? But look, those look like statues back there, so I feel like it's 4 statues.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they're in Lindon, which is odd that Durin the Fourth would be there, unless Durin the Fourth was there as an emissary of some kind, because once again with condensed timelines we see that there's also Durin the Third.
Right.
Whereas in the Tolkien lore, Durin the Fourth doesn't directly descend from Durin the Third. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of years between each Durin. They're sort of reincarnated, like the Dalai Lama, sort of. But like the dwarf, I'm gonna kick everyone's ass, Dalai Lama. They aren't sequential. In the condensed timeline, they are, which I think is interesting. So perhaps Durin the Fourth is an emissary in Lindon, or this could be in the area that Celebrimbor has built his little kingdom, where he's building where he actually eventually makes all the rings in. I believe Ost in Edhill is the name of his capital city in the city why am I not? I'm looking it up. I've got to look it up.
Look it up. Also, while here. Jason is looking that up, aren't Durin and Elrond, don't they become like pretty good buddies?
Elrond and Durin?
And Durin the Fourth.
Celebrimbor and Durin also, because Celebrimbor makes the speak friend and enter sign going into Moria. He made that, which I think is really cool, along with one of the main dwarven smiths. So they worked together. So my thought is perhaps that is actually in Eregion, in Ost in Edhill, which is the city that Celebrimbor made, and where he made all the Rings of Power. So, I mean, the show's called Rings of Power. You're going to think you're going to see the Rings of Power being made at some point.
Yeah.
So,
at some point... And we got 5 seasons.
Right. The main thing about this shot, though, is that means that either Durin the Fourth traveled, or Gil-galad traveled, or Celebrimbor traveled, because I believe that... at this time, Elrond is an emissary for Gil-galad. So therefore, somebody traveled somewhere for this meeting. So this is big.
I mean, call me simple, but I see woods and gold leaves on the ground, and I'm like, again, we're in Lindon.
Right.
But
we could be in Austin Edhill.
We definitely could be. So, we definitely could be. All right, moving on to our next shot. We thought the light would never dim. And we quickly see what looks to be maybe elven children
elf
running.
Children. I know that, which we've never seen.
No,
really, we've never seen elf children.
No.
What's with the boat, the paper boat?
Yeah, elf children running along with a paper boat.
Wait, is this an It tie-in? Is Pennywise going to come out?
Dear God, I hope not.
No.
I hope not.
Someone in the marketing department was like, tie them in!
Honestly, if there is a book or lore tie-in for that little white paper boat, I don't know what it is. I just thought maybe it was a cool shot of like kids playing.
No, it can't. Everything has to have lore attached.
Okay, sorry. Everything has to have lore.
That paper was a contract that was signed between...
Not this contract.
Elrond and Durin the Fourth, and then they put it in a paper boat and sent it down the river. I don't know. Yeah.
The elves are having a nice, peaceful time, is what I got from this shot and the voiceover.
Peaceful, they're having kids. These are humans. If you can see, he's got a rounded ear. Oh, speaking of ears, I noticed that the actor that plays Elrond, he's got pointy ears already. At Comic-Con, I noticed the guy's got elf ears. I don't even think they needed to make any for him.
I mean, way to typecast.
Yeah, I'm sure he walked into the audition, they're like, you got it. You got the role.
Sir, it's yours. I mean, he's very elven looking, for sure.
Yeah.
Which is a huge compliment, because elves are... I mean, most people consider elves to be one of the more attractive races.
Yeah.
All right. We thought our light would never dim, and it does look like humans with rounded ears putting down a sheet with some kind of symbol on it.
Right.
I'm like looking through our pins. I don't think it's any of those symbols.
Now, that could be it could be an elf symbol. It does look reminiscent of the symbols that are on the back of a copy of the Silmarillion that I have. But once again, we don't know what rights they've got now to get like legal and strange. But I know that they have the rights to the appendices of the Lord of the Rings. As far as I know, they don't have the rights to, say, the unfinished tales.
I was going to ask about the unfinished tales. Okay.
As far as they've told us, but something at the very end of the trailer.
Yes, which we'll get to.
Looked very reminiscent of something that they only could have gotten the rights for something else. So, I think they're keeping some things secret.
Oh, well, of course they are.
Yeah,
of course they are. So we thought our light would never dim. And boats, right? So there's a cloth, maybe a sail. So maybe we'll see this symbol on a sail moving forward. But yeah, I mean...
They're clearly
boats.
on a beach.
Yep, clearly on a beach.
So if that's Numenor, which would make sense to me.
But now we see Elven boat. So quick cut from what we think might have been Numenorian boat to Elven boat with a big light. And I saw some folks talking about this at Comic-Con, and it was really cool. But the birds are flying from the light.
Right. Yeah, and the elves are going towards it. This could be the elves trying to get back to Valinor through the Sundering Seas. This could also be them traveling to Numenor. Why are those birds flying? Are they there on the very moment that Numenor gets sunk under? I don't know.
Ooh.
But we do know
that's an interesting theory.
We do know Galadriel goes to Numenor in this trailer. Now, that was never written in any of the books that I've seen, that she went there. But
that's why I think she's going to be like the emissary for... Yeah. I think that's how they center the story on Galadriel. That's, again, all guesses.
Makes sense to me.
But it could work. It could work. All right. The skies are strange, which we've heard them say before when it comes to Meteor Man.
Right. So that's Lenny Henry, who plays one of the leaders of the Harfoots. And in one of the other trailers, one of the teasers that we didn't cut to, he's saying that's actually the same shot. He's saying the skies are strange, and then of course we see
the meteor.
The meteor. Meteor Man.
The stranger. There it is.
Boom.
So right there, and it cuts to the meteor, and that, I mean...
And we know that that's Arondir and Bronwyn.
Arondir and Bronwyn.
Two new characters that we've at least been told that they've got a forbidden love going on.
They sure do.
We're going to see that.
They sure do. I mean, side note, I cannot wait to see Arondir, more Arondir fight choreo. Cannot wait. I got to speak to him, to the actor who portrays Arondir at the luncheon, and he is well versed in several different types of martial arts and fighting, and said that he did a lot of the fight choreography himself. Yeah. Like, designed a lot of it. And as a huge fight choreo nerd, I'm like, ooh, give it all to me.
Yeah,
please.
He wanted to make it very specifically unique.
Yep.
And he also has a big background in dance.
Love it.
So
love it.
I can't wait. He said, I think he combined like Muay Thai and capoeira and
love it.
A couple other mixed martial arts. So can't wait to see.
I want to be shown in video form why elves are such badass fighters. And like, we know that they are on this earth for thousands of years, more than I always feel weird in Tolkien talking about humans, because they're not really humans. They're, Numenorian.
They're like the superhumans.
Yeah, superhumans, if you will. But I want to see the badass Elven fighting. And, I want people to watch the series and go, whoa!
Yeah.
And
get
that.
Yeah.
And I think that he'll deliver. So I'm excited about that. We did not get any more information on Meteor Man.
I know.
In this trailer.
Yeah. AKA
the Stranger. There was a lot of speculation going on at Comic-Con. And I feel like last time you and I chatted, we were theorizing that it could be Saruman. I know a lot of people are theorizing that it could be Sauron. I think we even danced around the idea of could it be Gandalf?
Right.
But the running theory I've heard the most at Comic-Con is that it's maybe one of the Blue Wizards, which makes sense because we don't know a lot about them, so they could really...
Yeah, that's true. Because
go whatever direction they want.
We were told that the wizards showed up in the Third Age, but once again, time condensing. Who knows? My original theory for Meteor Man was that it was Sauron when Numenor collapsed. It was Sauron escaping.
Yeah.
But now I've thrown that theory out the window because it's happening too early.
Yeah, if it does happen that early.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see the destruction of Numenor. Probably, if we see it at all, it will be at the end of the first season, but probably farther than that. I think that since it's Pharazôn and not our Pharazôn, when he seized the, spoilers, but the book is 70 years old now. When he seized the crown, I feel like we're going to see a lot of Numenor. So that's exciting.
It is exciting. I'm trying to look up right now because you said the wizards didn't arrive till the Third Age, and I thought that there was a contradicting passage.
Oh, okay.
That then speaks about them in the Second Age too, but I want to look that up. The time that the Blue Wizards arrived in Middle-earth is uncertain. In Unfinished Tales, Tolkien wrote that the five Astari came to Middle-earth together in Third Age 1000. However, in the peoples of Middle-earth, they are said to have arrived in the Second Age around the year Second Age 1600, the time of the forging of One Ring. So
that's Gandalf. Confirmed.
No, I don't think it's Gandalf. I don't think they're going to go there. But that would make sense why he likes hobbits so much. Why he has such an affinity for Harfoot hobbits.
Because
if
they
we're going to go
helped
there
him at the very beginning when he meteored in.
I don't think it's going to be Gandalf, though. I don't think that's where they're going. It might. I don't know. I don't know. Speculate all you will.
That tower is really cool. I think here we're back in Numenor, clearly. We've got the Palantir.
I freaked out when we saw the Palantir, when we saw this. Because, we know that Palantir existed in the Second Age, even though they weren't specifically written about it. So, let's see those stories.
It's basically their, CVs to everyone. They're like phone. So if you have a Palantir here and you got one.
Well, and certain people, in a little Mjolnir-esque way, certain people are more worthy of using it and more apt to use it and can better use it than others. And what is it? Strength of will and courage or something like that.
Right. Once Sauron got the one from Minas Morgul, anytime anyone used any Palantir, he was connected to them and so could bend their will to his. Which
terrifying.
Is what happened to Denethor.
We're probably going to see it happen in this series. Galadriel using it's cool. And when she touches it, it looks like it explodes. I don't think it actually explodes. I think it's just a cool thing.
Effect.
Transition
and
or whatever.
Once again, trailer stuff.
Okay.
I don't think that what we're seeing right now is what she sees in the show.
Oh, okay.
This is clearly... it was confirmed earlier that was her brother Finrod. So this fight, I have been told by the powers that be, or just like by friends that speculate, not the powers that be, that there's going to be a prologue in episode 1 talking about the First Age as much as they can. And I believe that this is from a First Age battle. And especially if Finrod is in this battle, which it really looks like the same battle to me, this would mean, unless she's looking in the past with that Palantir, there's no way what we're seeing right now is what they're going to show to us that she sees in the Palantir in the actual show.
I agree with that. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're right. I think this is, and this is a great shot to show in a teaser like this because it looks awesome.
Yeah.
The scale of this battle looks on par with the scale of battles we've seen in the other films. And that's exactly what, people that aren't diehard Tolkien fans want to see out of a fantasy television show like this.
Yeah.
We know they spent lots of money on it. We want to see these big epic fantasy battles. And this looks cool. I don't know why there's so many explosions unless it's hinting at the thing we see, unless it's a Balrog thing.
Yeah. Or dragons. Are there dragons there? This is the First Age.
So are there dragons? We'll get to it a little later when we talk sea serpents. But it's like there could be dragons lived in the north at this time, right? I'm trying to. My facts are generally a little soft around the edges, So yeah, we get a couple shots very quickly here, so I'm just going to go over them again so we can see them. The battle, explosions, here's the Finrod shot.
Finrod that we've been told. Oh, okay.
Oh, and then, we see...
The red. So, it looks like a painting to me, first of all.
It's gorgeous.
I've heard two theories online. This could either be the destruction of Numenor, or it could be at the end of the War of Wrath when Balrog went under. Either way, it's definitely.
I'm curious if they're going to show us the fall of Numenor, anything from the fall of Numenor this early.
Right, I don't think so. So
I don't
either
think
it's
so.
a vision, or
maybe,
or in this prologue that they say they're going to have, this is the end of the War of Wrath, when a big chunk of Middle Earth just goes bloop, right into the sea.
That makes sense. I've also seen a lot of speculation that because of the red background, we're either like, why is there so much fire in this battle scene? Could it be a Balrog? Could it be a dragon? I mean, on par with other kind of fantasy dragon war destruction we've seen on television, in film, similar look.
Well, I believe it was in the Battle of Unnumbered Tears that Morgoth, for the very first time, released winged dragons. There, earlier in the First Age, there was the king of the dragons, the head dragon, was named Glaurung, but the early dragons didn't have wings.
Interesting.
So they were like giant lizards. They were still
Got it.
badasses, but they couldn't
And
fly.
sea serpents. Weren't sea serpents also considered early dragons?
Right. So that sea serpent that we're going to see a little bit later supposedly could be a water dragon.
Okay, now I want to stop on this. Is this Finrod?
I mean, it's got to be, for a couple reasons. I mean, she's crying over him. We know that they're going to play up that relationship between her and her brother. The biggest tell to me are those claws, claw marks, because we all know on the Isle of Werewolves is where Finrod died. Sadly, he died in
Spoilers, by the way.
But this is Silmarillion stuff. He died in a castle that he built.
No, and
taken over by
you and I have wondered before, is the show going to go with that storyline for Finrod, since they're,
But seeing those claw marks makes me think they're going to touch on it at the very least.
It does, and it also looks like he is holding that same dagger that Galadriel held in the posters that were released. So this dagger that's, the really beautiful, either like yellow gold and white gold or gold and silver, that stunning dagger, is that Finrod's dagger all along that she then takes? We don't know. And she's very sad.
Okay. This is clearly Nimloth.
The white tree.
That eventually Isildur takes a fruit from that tree and then plants it in Gondor. But here we're seeing the OG tree. Why are all the leaves?
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think the leaves are falling off as kind of a poor premonition of what's to come, or maybe?
Think so. Also, those, if you look, the arches are ruined. The arches look like ruins. So is that at a point in Numenor's history where I know there was a point in Numenor's history where they started to ignore the white tree, when they turned their back on the elves and wanted to bolster their own ways, and I think they stopped paying attention to the tree. Clearly, they didn't keep up with the arches there. So, is this the last gasp of Nimloth?
Continue on.
Evil does not sleep.
Evil does not sleep.
So
3 figures on a cliff. Here we go.
That looks like an eye, first of all.
I think it does look like an eye. I never noticed that before, Jason.
It looks like an eye on his staff.
I also think that is the person we see later that blows the leaf, that is intentionally androgynous looking. I've seen some people speculate that this is a female character, even though a lot of people jumped right to A, this person looks like Eminem, but also B, it's Sauron. A lot of people jumped right to this as Sauron. I don't think it is. But that's who that person is, and they obviously have followers already. This person carrying some type of plate, and this other person with a helmet.
It could be Sauron. It could not be Sauron. It could also just be a priest of Morgoth, because what we know is that a big faction of the Numenorians start actually worshipping Morgoth based on Sauron's influence. So Sauron starts manipulating a lot of citizens of Numenor and get them to start worshipping Morgoth, and even throwing live people into sacrifices. So,
live sacrifices. And I mean, Sauron Sauron's got his work cut out for him, convincing these people and brainwashing them to such a degree that they're willing to fight alongside orcs and think they're like the good guys. I mean, it's a leap. So it's many, many steps in the process. But it's not just Sauron that's the big baddie. There's lots of different people, like, I want to say, I don't know, commanders underneath Sauron that we're probably going to see play out in this series.
Right.
And maybe this is one of those people. The reason I don't think it's Sauron is because a lot of people had said this is Sauron in his fair form, in his Anatar form. And I think that this character is a little bit too creepy looking.
Yeah, I didn't. Maybe when he smiles, or when they smile, it will be Sauron.
Maybe they're super charming then, but
when we see the shot later, it's full on like.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, we can't. Not at least if that's Anatar, we can't. Anatar needs to be like the charisma 19, charisma 20 person in order to accomplish what they're able to accomplish.
Right. Anatar, the giver of gifts, he was able to convince some very wise elves that he was a Maiar that meant no harm, that only wanted to help the people of Middle-earth.
Right.
So, is the sinister looking person, is that? I don't know. That doesn't track with me. It doesn't
track with me either, so I hope that's not what it is.
But maybe they've got an incredible smile.
Maybe.
So we'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Yeah.
Now, right after this, we get to see him. Now, that's super creepy looking, right?
Right.
Here, it looks like, now we are in Khazad-dum, looking at the dwarven, and Elrond's there. Mm-hmm. So Elrond travels to Khazad-dum, we know that. Again, I think during the fourth and Elrond are buddy-buddy a little bit. But, I mean, Khazad-dum looks awesome. And so, here we see...
During the third.
And I guess during the fourth, like bestowing.
Giving some advice, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably warning about digging too greedily and too deep.
Yes.
But then it happened. But we'll see. Much later.
But then it happens. Oh, it happens much later. Yeah.
This is... Okay.
Galadriel waking up in the aftermath of some war destruction. Yeah. And this, I feel like, probably pairs closely with some of the footage we saw a little earlier in the trailer, just based on the fact that there's all this fire destruction, specifically Balrog, dragon, we don't know. Yeah. Why is she the only one alive?
Right, and was she there? Was that the battle we saw, or is it somewhere else? I mean, those sort of burnt trees sticking up, that kind of looks like the other place. It also sort of looks like where she was piling the helmets.
This very well, to me, because of the structures that we see here, these are not like stone structures that have collapsed. These are very specifically wooden houses. Like you can see the frame of the house. So wooden houses makes me think, maybe is this where Bronwyn is from?
Yeah, is it a village in the south, something like that, where just a battle? Because I have been told, I think, somewhere that Bronwyn is from the south, near Harad, which is south of what eventually becomes Mordor. So, yeah, and clearly Galadriel's going everywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. She's got to. Mm-hmm. They say he has not one name but many.
Yeah. And that looks awesome. So
it looks awesome.
I don't know. There's a lot of theories out there. One is this could be from the flashback, so that could be Morgoth's first fortress called Autumno.
Yes, I've seen a lot of.
Now his second fortress underneath Thangorodrim, the three volcanoes. His second fortress was mainly subterranean.
Okay.
So I don't think that's it.
Too many clouds.
Yeah, and too many spires. There weren't really any spires in his underground second main fortress. So this could be Autumno. This could be a flashback. This could be a third place that we don't even know what it is. I mean, clearly they're in the north, I think. This ties in with when they were fighting the ice troll in the other trailer. Okay. So this could just be, random outpost, evil outpost number 3. I don't know. But I think it looks great.
It looks really cool. Yeah. I'm with you. It looks really cool. Speaking of ice, here we go. So we're getting that symbol in ice on what looks to be an anvil. Yeah. Maybe, or it could just be an ice wall. This could just be an ice wall and it's cracking into the ice. And again, people are saying here with this, we see it in this shape right here. where people are saying, is this the helmet? Is this the sword? Or if you turn it sideways, is it an eye? And here is the first time, I believe, we hear someone say Sauron's name.
I know. And openly. Have you heard of Sauron?
Have you heard of Sauron?
Mm-hmm. So that's Theo, and his mother is Bronwyn.
Yep.
They live in Harad. There was a history that some, what they called the Black Numenorians or the Dark Numenorians, the ones that were worshipping Morgoth or Melkor, they made a settlement there. So is that what this is? Are these the people that are in league with Sauron, and so they're saying his name openly? Because no one ever really did.
Well, I also wonder, what setting we're in here. It looks like, are they in some type of...
prison?
I guess it's not a prison. It looks like they're just kind of underground or in the tunnels or something like that.
Yeah.
So maybe this is something that's only spoken of in the tunnels and like hushed.
Okay, yeah, in hushed tones.
Maybe, because Theo obviously pulls away and then we have a quick cut to Bronwyn.
His mom, yeah. And, okay, here we go.
The Hand. Lots of speculation as to what this is. I'm hoping this is an early Orcan.
I think it is. A lot of people say, we just saw the Hand of Sauron. I'm not convinced because, I'm sorry, what would Sauron be doing just kind of creeping around, going after one person?
Well, also, I'm a big, creature creation nerd in film, too, and this is such a cool design. I want to see this be reserved for some kind of creep nasty that we might see more of, not necessarily the big overarching baddie, which, who knows? Maybe. But I was excited to see this because, the darkness personified is always cool to see in Tolkien's works, and I want to see it here. It definitely looks creepy, though.
Yeah.
So here we have Theo.
Holding, okay, so...
What sword is that?
Right. That sword looks a lot like a sword we're going to see a little bit later. I believe that it is a sword from one of the sons of Fëanor.
Okay.
So later in one of the teasers that we didn't cover, but I think in this trailer too, you see these elves holding their swords up.
Yep.
And I think they're making the Oath of Fëanor, which is when the Silmarils were stolen by Morgoth, that were made by Fëanor. He made an oath that he would, attack any... I can't remember the exact words of the oath, but basically that he would attack Morgoth and that he would attack anybody that ever had the Silmarils until they were back with him or his family. So those were his sons making that oath. That sword looks like the same sword. What I don't get is what is about to happen when the sword sort of reforms in his hand. That's what I don't get.
So I feel like at this point, where have I read or have we been flat out told that Theo, this young character, is the key to something for Galadriel? Huh. Yeah, Galadriel has to find him in order to stop Sauron, and I don't remember why. But Theo, son of Bronwyn, is a very, very key player. And maybe Theo's the only one who can make this sword do this. Theo is not any character we know from the books, so who knows?
Let's find out.
But maybe not everyone can make this sword appear in such a way.
It almost looks like a Morgul blade, but in reverse.
Now, I have heard people say that as well and speculate, are we going to see the Nazgul come together in this series?
Right. Well, the Witch King of Angmar does get one of the 9 rings for men.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely happens in the Third Age. So maybe we don't know how this is a 5-season series.
Yes.
So we don't know how far in we're going to go.
We don't.
So yeah, I would think if you're making a story about the Rings of Power, you got to see the 9 come.
I would like to see that.
Come out. So.
I would like to see that. If the Evil Rising is left unchecked, it will take us all.
And this looks like they're possibly in that fortress we just saw earlier.
The fortress in the clouds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it also looks like there's not a lot going on there. Maybe it's abandoned. So
maybe it is a Tumno.
Maybe it is. And then we see the anvil with that either eyes / helmet / sword hilt design. We're not quite sure. Now there's some elven archers getting ready to go.
Right, and then boom, this thing comes up. But
Before they get totally clobbered.
There's something in the ice.
Yes, with a big chunk of ice with something in it, not sure what.
Yeah. Super confused. Now we've got a burning boat. Is that at Numenor? Is that... I thought maybe for a second when I first saw the burning boat that would be the burning of the boats right after the kinslaying in the First Age, but I feel like this is Numenor, not the elf city of Tolsirion.
I would agree. I mean, it's hard to tell just from their stature from behind of these people that we're seeing, but my immediate thought was Numenor.
Yeah.
All right, and then we see Bronwyn and Theo.
Find the light, and the shadow will not find you.
So maybe that's the Theo thing, that Sauron can't find him, or maybe he's somehow shielded from that. I don't know.
Dying. Okay.
Stop. Hand, glove, go.
That's not the same hand from earlier.
It is definitely not the same hand from earlier.
And it's actually... Oh, I think it's on your Return of the King.
Oh, let's see.
Yep.
Let's showcase.
Same knuckles. So, of course, the first time I saw this, I'm sure, and everyone saw it, was like, oh, that's Sauron's hand.
And a lot of people still think that it is. I saw once the Comic-Con trailer dropped, a lot of people were like, we finally see Sauron. I'm not so sure that we have.
I heard that this is actually Adar, I think Adar's hand, who was a corrupted elf, leader of some orcs.
Now, do we have casting for Adar?
Yeah, it's actually the actor that played Uncle Benjen in Game of Thrones.
That's right, Benjen Stark in Game of Thrones. You're right, you're right. So, okay, so I agree. If Adar's already been casted, we need to see that character wielding authority. And also, in this moment where we see this glove, they're walking through what appears to be orcs with cloth over them, which this is so interesting to me because by the time we get to the Third Age, orcs can be out in sunlight, no problem.
Well, Uruks can, but the regular orcs still can't. Yeah,
Uruks can.
Uruk-hai can, but not regular orcs. So so this is a scene clearly showing us that orcs can't go out in the light.
Which is cool. We haven't seen that before. This is a really neat thing. But I'm not sure how much Sauron would just be kind of like slumming it with some orcs.
Right. In the same way that he wasn't creeping around going after one person.
Right. Yeah. So I agree. I think this is going to be our big baddie of the show in the beginning. Season 1. And what is his name again?
Adar. Let me double check on that.
Okay. Let's double check.
Yeah. So they say Adar is a fictional character created for the series. He's also known as the first corrupted elf. And Adar means father of orcs. Or Adar means father. So he's the father of the orcs.
That tracks.
Yeah. Because orcs were, as Saruman taught us in, I believe, The Two Towers, or maybe in Fellowship of the Ring, the movie that, orcs were elves once, taken by the dark powers, corrupted, transformed, and now perfected. But anyway, so we know that orcs were corrupted elves, which really sucks.
It just really sucks.
To go from that to that is kind of rough.
It's a long way to fall.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so I also just found, by the way, and I don't think we had talked about this, but I know you're such a fan of the Huron-Turin storyline, that a lot of people speculate that Theo's sword that we saw...
No.
Yes,
really?
that is a running theory right now, is that it's Gurthang.
Wow. So Gurthang, we were talking about the dragons earlier. We're talking about Glaurung, the first big dragon. So Gurthang broke underneath Glaurung when Turin killed him. And so it would make sense, and it was a black sword.
I thought it broke when Turin fell on it and killed himself.
Oh, right. That's what it was. Yeah. So he used it. He used the sword to kill Glaurung.
Yes.
Then
but it broke when he tragically...
Yeah, unfortunately, he killed himself, and it broke when he fell on it.
Right.
But, wow, if that's Gurthang, that's...
Right.
All right. Yeah.
So that's a
cool theory, because it was a black sword. Theory. It was a black sword.
And it seems to be deteriorated to some degree when Theo...
It seems to be broken, so
Who knows? Who knows? All right.
I love that theory. I hope it's true. I hope it's true!
We'll see. We'll see. Okay, together we can survive this.
And who we're seeing right now, too, is Haldir, another character that's created for the show, a Numenorian in some way.
Yes, with this symbol everywhere. Bronwyn, together we can survive this. Here's our shot of all of the swords being lifted. I really think
are Fëanor's sons. But if you back it up slightly, Bronwyn yells out, together we can survive this. Someone's holding up a sheathed sword. That is actually Galadriel's sword.
Okay.
From earlier shots. But it doesn't look like Galadriel holding it unless maybe she's in disguise. Can't really tell. So... who's got Galadriel's sword, or are there a lot of swords like that? Is that just like standard issue elf sword? Not sure.
Maybe.
Okay. Boom. Okay. I really think those are Fëanor's sons taking the oath. But I want to look at the sword hilts if we can.
Yeah, let's see. Enhance. There's kind of your best shot of it.
I guess. I don't know.
We don't know yet. Fight with me. Again, a beautiful shot. We've got that nice sweeping landscape in the back.
She's with the Numenorians, though, which is interesting because they have the scale mail armor. Because they're an island nation. It seems as the Numenorians are wearing scale mail to represent the fact that they're fishermen. It's interesting that she's saying "fight with me" to the Numenorians. Perhaps this is the first time the Numenorians fight Sauron and not the last. I don't know. Yeah, interesting.
And then we see her, kind of like shaking on it with somebody.
I heard that that's supposed to mean Muriel, based on the armor there. So that's interesting.
Then we get to see some cool Arondir action.
Yeah.
Love it. Into it.
Kicking that rock down on orcs or something.
Right. So. And then we get to see Muriel in another scale armor, but this time a navy scale armor where we only saw the kind of iridescent pearl one before.
Right.
Looks great.
Mm-hmm. Now you met the actress, so now we're on
Sophia,
Disa.
Who plays Disa.
Singing To the Rocks.
Well, she has a gift. Have they confirmed that it's singing yet, or are we just all like, it's singing?
Oh, no, I think they did in one of the articles. Maybe the Vanity Fair article. They said that she has a unique way of communicating with the rocks, and then it's singing.
And I know that we all kind of talked about that at length when we broke down the last one, which makes sense because sound would reverberate off mountains, and it's very cool. And it looks like maybe all of these folks lifting their voice in song. Is it just Disa lifting her voice in song? But yeah, she looks super powerful and awesome. I don't know if this is public yet or not. Do we know who her spouse is?
No.
Because I think I know who her spouse is.
Because you found out, like, at the lunch?
Yeah. Durin the Fourth and Disa are married.
Okay. I think that...
Is that public?
It's public, because don't they say that she's Queen Disa?
We do know she's Queen Disa, but I didn't know if we knew if it was the third
or the fourth or something.
Which time period, if there's another location, but yes, Durin the Fourth and Disa are lovingly together. And I know that because the actors who I got to meet, both of those actors, they were super lovely, were referring to each other as hubby and wife at the luncheon. Which was very cute. Disa also told me, Sophia also told me, she has wonderful stories, by the way, about how she was early momming it hard through the casting of this, the filming of this. And as a mom who works in the entertainment industry, I was like, hats off. Like, you are the true queen and must be protected at all costs. Because what she went through was, finding out information while in labor, actively in labor in the hospital. Can't imagine.
She said in her cast interview that she was 5 days away from giving birth when she did her on-camera test.
Her last audition.
Yeah. And then found out in the hospital that she got the role?
No, she found out after she left the hospital, but her baby was still really young that she got the role. But in the hospital, she said that her husband was like, I know it's a bad time, but your agent's on the phone. He says it looks good. Like, can you imagine?
Now push!
Can you imagine? So funny, so funny. But she is just an absolutely lovely human being. And I cannot wait to see what she does with this role. She also was talking about, because I said, oh my goodness, were you so thrilled when you found out you didn't need to have a beard spirit gum to your face every day? Like, that's one of the questions I asked her in the luncheon. And she was like, Disa does have a beard, and it is awesome. And you will just have to wait and see what it looks like. And I was like, oh, really? So she was like, people who watch this series do not know what the dwarven female beard stylings of the time were. So while we're all expecting Jason Charles Miller approach, or Doran the third or fourth approach, maybe the ladies styled it up. And so I'm like freeze framing all of her shots to be like, is it like a super cool like mutton chop thing that like fades in with, I don't know, but I'm excited.
Real quick side note, back to San Diego Comic-Con for a second, because we both live in Los Angeles, which is much more almost like a desert area. When I got to San Diego Comic-Con, my beard just went full dwarf because it was so, the humidity, there was so much humidity.
There's so much more humidity. Also, it was freezing. I was so cold the whole time we were there.
So if you see pictures of me there, it's just, it's just out there.
Now you know why. Dwarf. Now you know you went full dwarf. For Sophia and Durin specifically.
For the honor of.
But yeah, I cannot wait to see this world brought to life. I also asked both the actors for Disa and Durin if they had gone back through and watched the original Lord of the Rings trilogy to revisit the Mines of Moria, and if that made them sad.
Oh, and what did they say?
They both said, no, I have not done that yet, but now I'm terrified to. Right? Because I'm like, I'm sure you have emotions and feelings so much now tied to these locations, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the actor who plays Durin was telling me that the set was so cool, and the practical stuff on the set was so cool. I love that they went so far into the practical realm when filming this. Yep. But that he said you would have to like touch the stone walls to realize that they weren't stone, that you weren't under a mountain. Yeah. And that just really puts you in it so much. It was fascinating to hear them talk about it. It was very cool. So again, shout out and thank you Prime Video for that experience, because that was awesome. All right.
Oh, definitely he's holding up some mithril there.
Okay, Doran the Fourth holding up some mithril. Each of us must decide who we shall be.
Mm-hmm. And then in one of the other teasers, I think they show that same shot, and he's saying something like, "This is the beginning of a new era." So I think this is when they found the mithril to make their awesome
dwarven construction.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, here we see a little forbidden love between Arondir and Bronwyn.
Mm-hmm. I love the leaf there. Very reminiscent of the leaf of Lorien.
Absolutely.
And we know he's a Sindarin elf, so an elf of the forest.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now we see Galadriel on a horse leading some cavalry potentially into battle. Maybe they're just traveling really fast. We're not sure. Mm-hmm. This is one of the shots that I know a lot of people have been very hesitant about, still feeling hesitant about Galadriel as a wartime military leader. Right. And what role she's going to play in that. But, I mean, what we can say for this shot is the scope of it looks amazing.
I mean, if I lived for 6,000 years, I think I would be doing a lot of different jobs.
Try some things.
I've got, if she was trying out being a leader, a military leader for a while, I've got no problem with that.
I think the legitimate fear, though, is that people don't want her to be seen as a military leader in so much that it takes away from the other skills that she possesses.
Right.
And how she's been depicted in other works as being this, incredibly powerful, incredibly composed diplomat, kind of force of will in that way. They don't want to, lean so heavy on other, other stats, if you're going to go into it from like a D&D perspective, that she, somehow loses the expertise that she has in other areas. And while I see and certainly acknowledge where those fears come from. Anytime we go into any series like this, it's like, okay, well, cautious optimism.
Yeah,
We just have to hope for the best.
Sure. For me, and by the way, she's leading Numenorians there again, which is interesting, and I don't think they're on Numenor. But I don't think Numenor was ever invaded. Definitely not by orcs.
Okay.
No one came on any boats over there. So I think they're on the mainland here. They're on Middle-earth themselves. So I'm curious as to what battle this is, or if this is something that's made up for the show, or a precursor to the big battle against Sauron, or one of the big battles. I see why people would be concerned, but I also know that the showrunners are so familiar with Tolkien's work that this is going to be an arc for her. I feel like we're going to get to where Galadriel is now, the Galadriel that we know, the Galadriel we know and love. I think we're going to get there. Maybe this is showing us how she got there.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Stories yet untold. There we go. And then we cut to a really cool scene of some orcs running through the woods.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And Galadriel swimming away from a sea serpent.
Mm-hmm. Which I believe in a Tolkien, maybe a Tolkien letter, or there is some source that does cite Tolkien saying that the sea serpents were dragons. So they're actually
they're like early dragons or something like that. But yes, and in a certain area, the sea serpents were the dragon of that area, if you will, which is cool for everybody who's like, well, we see dragons.
Yeah, well, there you go.
There we go.
Also, I did in the interview read, and I believe it was Collider had footage of the 3 different water tanks that they had. They had these amazing water tanks. One was outside, 2 were inside, something like 40 million gallons of water. I'm making that number up, but I think I heard that. It was like 40 million gallons of water. If you go to Collider, you'll see these exclusive shots of the tanks they were in. They had to do dive training.
Yes.
They did swim training.
I love it.
They really went for it.
I love all the BTS of how movies get made when they are on such a grand scale like that. It's so cool. And I'm sure the inside pools were probably that way so they could regulate temperatures. So if they needed like steam to come off the water, they could make that naturally happen, etc. It's really neat.
Right.
Here we say there can be no trust between hammer and rock. Jason, what do you think that alludes to?
So, what I think it is I think, and I believe that that's during the third talking. So I think the whole quote is, there can be no trust between hammer and rock. Sooner or later one will break. I think I'm paraphrasing a little bit. We'll see it in a second. Could be talking about the relationship between elves and dwarves.
Okay.
Because they have somewhat of a tumultuous relationship. He could be talking about a general advice of, between the dwarves and the rock. Meaning, like, if you do too much, something is going to happen.
I assumed it was elves and dwarves, but I actually like the dwarves and the rock. I like that better. That makes more sense to me now that you've said that, because you're right. If they dig too deep, as we find out later, one will break. And we know how that goes because of stories, but we'll see how it goes in the Second Age. Then we cut to this shot of Numenor. We've got our beautiful scaled armor. And some really cool buildings and folks on horseback and getting ready to go into battle.
And then we cut to during the fourth. See a really cool dwarf
really
mask.
Cool dwarven helmet mask.
Yeah, it's a helmet with a beard built in.
I love it.
I personally
gotta protect the beard.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that they made a helmet around it.
But it looks like these dudes are just drinking and hanging out on the side. But maybe these folks are marching into battle.
So I'm not sure. And maybe they're holding axes or shields here. Yeah. But you're right. Those dwarves are just drinking. So did he show up at a drinking party?
Maybe.
With his troops?
Maybe.
Is he crashing the party? We'll find out.
I love his beard braid as well.
All right.
Then we cut to Meteor Man. And now we know it's Nori whose hand, which you were the one that was like, tiny hands. It's a Harfoot. So...
yeah.
Been confirmed.
So we see a little bit more of Meteor Man. We see, I like your theory now. And I know it's a long shot theory that maybe this is Gandalf, and that's why he loves hobbits so much, because Harfoot's helped him when he arrived.
I mean, that is a very long shot theory. I don't think that's where they're going with it, but it's fun to speculate.
Well, now that you showed me that conflicting
Second
thing
age,
about
third
second
age.
I mean,
For the
this
Astari,
has got to
I
be
know.
a wizard. It's a wizard no matter what. It's a wizard.
You're now convinced.
Yeah, hashtag confirmed. It's a wizard.
It's not hashtag confirmed at all. But I just feel like, and I think the Tolkien professor, by the way, follow the Tolkien professor, genius. I think the Tolkien professor was saying this at Comic-Con, that we know so little about the Blue Wizards that they'd have more license to kind of expound upon that. So Blue Wizard could make a lot of sense
could be a
here.
Blue Wizard. Supposedly
we'll
they went
see.
off into the east and never came back. I know one was named Palandro. And I can't remember the name of the other
Good memory. Good memory.
All right. So
don't know who Meteor Man is. Just speculating. Then we cut to Arondir being awesome. And this looks like a continuation of the shot we saw previously with the chains when we were like, is he a prisoner? Is this just his fighting style?
Right. I mean,
what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think the chain is around him because we saw it in previous teasers that he's been chained.
It was like on his ankle.
So I think he's trying to escape some sort of captivity.
I mean, it looks awesome. Whatever he's doing, he's kicking booty. And he's hitting someone that's enshrouded in cloth, which makes me think maybe orc, shrouded from sun.
Mm-hmm. I think we've seen this orc in other photos. Mm-hmm. Now, for the first time, where you paused it, I now see what could be another elf also rising up.
Yes.
So I think this is some sort of, these elves were captured to be corrupted and turned into orcs, and they're like, we're not having it.
Oh, I like that theory. I like that theory. And then looks like somehow Arondir takes a big fall. Mm-hmm. And yes, there are orcs. That orc design looks so good. Of course, it didn't went all the way back.
They used it, and they look so good. They used it in the thumbnail.
Yeah, it looks so good they used it in the thumbnail. But honestly, again, I'm such a huge fan of practical effects. And not to say that I'm not a fan of CGI. CGI is also a wonderful skill and has done wonders in film. I just personally am partial to practical effects. And yes, they can certainly be used together to great end, for sure, giving that disclaimer. But I love that they went practical orcs. It looks so cool.
That's often when it looks the best, honestly, when CG and practical meet together in the middle.
Agreed. But I think this design looks really neat. And, I think some of our earlier fears of, is this going to be a big budget TV show that still looks
like a
cheap
TV show?
A little bit?
Yeah, no, I think they got it.
I think they got it.
Okay, now this looks like the village possibly from before.
Yes,
Galadriel
where we see
was
Galadriel.
in. And we see
That's
like a tornado or some sort of explosion. Something just happened here.
I agree. I think this is the town that's going to get decimated that we see Galadriel waking up from because of the structure of the buildings. Mm-hmm. Look at the thatched roofs, look at how they're built, and then go back and look at the destruction in the structures that are left, the frames of the buildings that are left.
Yep.
That makes sense to me. And Galadriel's there, or at least it cuts to make it look like she is.
Mm-hmm. Ah, okay, here we go.
Then we go back to Slim Shady, maybe not Sauron, nobody knows.
Right. I wish the real Sauron would stand up.
Very androgynous, so people have speculated this could be female characters that have been written about in the First and Second Age, male characters that have been written about in the First and Second Age. And I thought, I've only seen people speculate other things, so I'm like, oh, maybe I'm missing something huge. But I thought blowing this golden leaf and then it decimating was somehow foreshadowing like the fall of Lindon. But the leaf doesn't look like the same leaves we've seen in Lindon, so maybe not.
Right.
But that I have not heard other people say that.
We see the staff in the back, but we don't see a close-up, so we don't know.
So we don't know if it's an eye. But again, I don't know that this is going to be Sauron in Anatar form because this person looks creepy and Anatar is supposed to be pleasing. Also, why the short hair? Is this someone who was captured and maybe had all their hair cut off as a punishment?
Yeah.
There are so many ways this could go.
I'm of the opinion that this person in this trailer is a red herring to us. They want us to believe that that's Sauron, but I don't think it is.
No, I think it's probably maybe like a next in command, or because we know that Sauron's going to have like a team of high-level people. This could be one of those people, whether it's a priest or a military commander or whatever.
Or it could totally be Sauron and we're both wrong.
Or it could totally be Sauron and we're both wrong.
And they're just showing us the creepiest moments, and when this actor smiles, they're going to look fair.
I mean, this actor has amazing eyelashes.
Yeah.
We can tell from the screen cap. So who
and
knows?
amazing eyebrows too.
Yes.
Bam.
Amazing. So yeah, blowing
You have
the
been
leaf.
told many lies of Middle Earth.
Which I also love that you've been told many lies of Middle Earth because it is creepy and foreboding and just plants the seed of doubt, right? Which is what Sauron's there to do.
Right. The voice is very creepy, though. Once again, not fair.
Not fair.
Not Anatar.
But different forms. We know different forms.
Right.
You know, they could go anywhere with it. But I love this whole, because what I'm so excited to see in Rings of Power is I like to see, and maybe this is horrific of me, but in my high fantasy literature, I like the darks to be dark to make the light so light. You need the extremes, right? So I really want to see these people in peaceful times thinking they're doing wonderful things. I want to see how they get corrupted. That to me is the interesting part, and honestly where I thought Game of Thrones lost it so much in the end. They showed me flip on a dime corruption. They didn't show me how they got there.
Right.
I want to see how. I want to watch the process happen. That's the fascinating part to me. Right? It's why I like the Animatrix so much. How did we get from our world to the Matrix world? Show me step by step. And so what I liked about that so much is you've been told many lies about Middle-earth plants just enough doubt to maybe get some people that were on the straight and narrow to start questioning things in a way that leaves them open and susceptible to be corrupted. I think it's cool. Into it. Okay, and here we see Arondir grabbed by something. I know a lot of people have said Ents. We know there'll be Ents in the series, so
and we
maybe...
we know there'll be Ent wives. They confirmed that.
They did? Yeah. I missed that.
They confirmed it.
That's exciting.
What
happened to the Ent wives?
Yeah, maybe we're going to find out.
Ooh, baby.
This is my theory, because he's got an Ent on his armor, right? Arondir has a picture of an Ent face on his armor. He's a wood elf. What I think is happening here is that I don't think these are orcs grabbing him. I think these are Ents grabbing him, but to protect him. I think they're grabbing him quickly to hide him.
Oh, that could definitely be the case.
He just escaped from the orcs.
Yeah.
He's running through the woods. They show them running through the woods, chasing him. I think this is an Ent being like, "Come here."
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it looks violent. I could be wrong. But I don't know. I think it's an Ent trying to protect him.
It looks violent and it looks creepy. The only other thing I thought it could be is that orc hand we saw in the beginning coming up into like the cottage or whatever it was. That maybe it's like several of them here grabbing him and pulling him into some
That could be it. Maybe this is the moment he got captured too.
Maybe.
Maybe these are orcs.
Maybe. But I like your theory better. I like that it's the Ents protecting him. Rings of Power comes out September 2nd. On Prime Video.
And then blow our frickin' mind.
You think it's done.
With a Balrog.
With a very, the Balrog design we've come to know and love Balrog.
This is a Peter Jackson era Balrog. So is this telling us... Now this is where we get, into the weeds a little bit. We know that the Hobbit rights... and the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit film rights and the Lord of the Rings film rights are up for sale right now. And Amazon was able to purchase the Hobbit rights.
Okay.
So they now have the rights to the Hobbit. Is this them telling us, guess what? We got the rights to the Lord of the Rings film rights too.
I mean, maybe. That's a very,
Yeah. Because, that
back-end film business deal. I mean, it looks just like Peter Jackson's Balrog.
The thing about the Balrog from Peter Jackson is... that mouth, when the mouth opens up and it looks like a jet engine. It looks like a jet engine coming out. And it's the same mouth. So, I'm super curious. Super, super curious.
I love this design for the Balrog, and I was so excited to see it back. Jason knows my husband, Nate. I have tried to talk Nate into letting me buy this huge, coffee table sculpture of a Balrog. Many, many times. I'm shot down every single time. It's very expensive. Are we really going to have a Balrog sitting on our coffee table as our living room centerpiece? I think it'd be cool, but, other people live in this house other than me, so I have to be respectful of that. I am obsessed with this design. I think it's so cool. I'm so excited to see it brought back. I'm going to get, my facts are a little fuzzy here, so Jason, let me know if this is correct or incorrect. Okay. But aren't Balrogs also Maiar?
Yes. So they were they were Maiar that some of them that were corrupted. So
that's what I
that chose to follow Melkor. So the idea is that Balrogs are just as powerful as wizards.
Right, which is why it was so scary when Gandalf had to go up against the Balrog, because pretty evenly matched.
It took him like 2 weeks to kill him, or whatever, however long that battle went.
Terrifying. But, you know, I love that we're seeing that, and that we're going to see, you know, that power in Rings of Power and different measures of Maiar-esque stature and power, if you will, throughout the series. I want to see more of that, so this made me very excited for multiple reasons. Not to mention all the conversation we had about, was that a Balrog in the background from like previous teasers? It's like, now Balrog confirmed.
Now we know. Yeah. Hashtag Balrog confirmed 100%.
Hashtag Balrog confirmed. It's a thing. But yeah, everybody lost their mind when we all saw that together, because even though I was not at the Hall H panel when it was originally dropped, I was able to watch it with a lot of the Tolkien specific channels and content creators that were there. So it was fun to get to watch it with those people, because the excitement in the room is palpable. Sure. And, you know, as I said before, I think a lot of people are going into any new adaptation of works we love with a healthy dose of skepticism. You know, but
as they should,
as you should, exactly. If it's something you hold dear, you're obviously going to be protective over it. And Jason and I both have our things that we're, you know, feeling slightly skeptical about as well. But ultimately, I think the real fans want this to succeed. I hate to say the real fans because it sounds gatekeepery, but I ultimately think there are a lot of Tolkien fans out there that want to see this succeed and want to see this be good and want to see this be the entryway into Middle-earth for a new generation.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, and by the way, on our last video, when we saw that sweeping shot of Numenor for the first time, and we were both guessing that giant figure was Elros, it has actually been confirmed that that's Elrond, the father of Elros and Elrond.
Got it.
The one who basically saved Middle-earth in the First Age with the Silmaril flying in the sky. So, so we know we learn little things along the way, and wanted to just throw that out there so people knew.
I also like pointing out when our speculation was totally wrong, just to double down on the, like, Jason and I have no inside information. We're just fans who are also friends, who like to get together and talk about this stuff. And when the first teaser dropped for Rings of Power, Jason was like, should we just film this conversation?
Yeah. And so here we are.
So we did it once. I hope you enjoyed it the second time around.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and speculation as to what you think certain things might be or might not be. And feel free to disagree with our speculation, because we're all just here to, you know,
I don't know. You know,
have a good time.
On the time of filming this, it's the end of July. It's not coming out till September. Do you think there's going to be one more?
There might be. I don't know. This is a full 3-minute Big Bad.
Yeah.
I don't know that we'll get one again this long before September 2nd, but maybe.
Okay. Well, even if we get a short one or another teaser or something, we should definitely do this one again.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye.